Just like me to not adjust my thing before I start recording.
Slay.
Hello friends. For this project I decided that I really needed some comfort. So I'll be painting some Littlest Pet Shop toys. This bee is just not a color that I like, so I'm going to repaint her. These other ones, you can see, were all started at some point and never finished. They've been waiting on me to get inspiration for them, and today's not that day. But they're going to get painted anyway. So we'll get started like usual. I'm removing the bee's paint with acetone. Her body is actually almost completely painted because the plastic that it's made out of is actually translucent. They did this so that they could get the wings to look like this without having to be another piece of plastic that could fall off. Speaking of falling off, her head did. It broke off from the part that was inside of the body, so the little peg that I need to reattach is actually jiggly in the head and really small. I superglued it and set it aside. The other ones are covered in varying amounts of acrylic paint. I wish to high heavens that I remember what brand of paint that I used on the smaller rabbit and the ostrich, because holy goodness gracious, this stuff did not want to come off. I tried my best, and I only do this to get even colors for the base, but I got enough of the green off to where it just chips off in some places, and not in others. After they were as clean as they were going to get, I decided that all 4 of them were going to be painted as different aesthetics that I like to make me even happier. I'll start with the base coats that I did on the ostrich and the orange rabbit. The only reason is because I decided to give those Vallejos that I used in the last one another shot. Today is a different day after all. I didn't check the humidity last time, and I didn't check it today, but apparently it wasn't quite enough a difference to get a result that I was okay with. It was still kind of satiny and sticky when it dried, but that's okay because these aren't going to be the topmost coats of paint. The coverage was good enough and would have been completely great on the ostrich if it weren't for the old paint on him. Continuing with a bigger rabbit, I decided that she was going to get a Cutecore paint job, so pinks and muted colors. Truth be told, it's really hard for me to not make all of my LPS customs some combination of pinks. For example, Rainbow from 22 and this little birdie from 17 are both mostly pink, especially the bird. I want this rabbit to be distinguishable from Rainbow and from Rosie, for that matter. I mixed up a pink that was deeper than the base that I used on the other 2. The thing is, I also wanted some gradient on her ears as well. I considered the kind of pink that I wanted for that and figured that light pink was good enough. I wanted the airbrush effect LPS have, again, and went with the easy way to go about it by using the sponge method. It was a little bit frustrating because I guess I was putting it on the sponge wrong. I got it eventually. As far as her hair goes, I went with a slightly lightened blue. Like I said, she's Cutecore and not pastel, so it's okay that it's still so saturated. I honestly should have made it a little bit lighter, but it's fine like this too. I made the inside of her ears and her little nose yellow. In between some of these areas of paint, I sealed her with watered down Duraclear gloss varnish. Notice how not gloss it is. I fill in her eyes with white as a base for the sclera. I'm pretty sure this mold's eyes are not the same size, but I follow the mold anyway. I really want a good amount of purple on her, so I saved it for the eyes. I figured to do something similar to Rainbow in that her eyes are going to be 3 different tones of the same color. I made her irises nice and light colors. I tried to mute that straight purple a little bit, but I liked how the purple from the bottle itself looked. Now for the special part. When it comes to some Cutecore characters, there are big, fat, chunky eyelashes. So she's going to get big, fat, chunky eyelashes in purple. It doesn't match LPS, but it will make me happy. I sketched out where I want them off camera so they're not completely wonky. I fill them in a few layers and try to clean up any messes with some water. I thought that I ran out of her pink, but fortunately I did have a little bit of backup left to clean them up better. Before I do one last thing, I seal her with a few layers of varnish to make sure that none of this paint gets ruined. Anyway, what we're adding now is the highlights. I really want her eyelashes to have highlights too, so I mixed up color that looks good and did my best to make these nice and crisp. I went back and forth a little bit and used a needle as a brush, but it turned out alright. I tried to find anime images that I could swear had these kinds of eyelash highlights, but I couldn't find anything, so I made it up. I hope it looks alright. I also painted her mouth. The bee is going to get a Kidcore paint job. I was going to paint her like a normal bee, but this idea came to me and I went for it because I love Kidcore colors. Her head is going to be yellow and her stripes are going to be red, blue, light blue, yellow, and the green plastic color. Her feetsies and wings are also going to be that color, which is why I have those places masked off. The yellow was giving me issues. I know that my yellow paints need to be layered, so I thought to add some white to make it a little bit more substantial. It still took a lot of layers, and they all came out pretty darn textured considering how thin this paint was. Even when I tried to use a softer brush, I was still getting those streaks coming through. Also, her head fell off again. It was really hard to paint her body when they were connected, so I'll leave them apart until the body is at least painted. I'll put them back together when I'm done with her so that I can paint everything properly. When I need to, I'll put her head on a needle tool so that she can dry properly. So I'll just go ahead and paint the stripes. Of course, the red on her neck and hind legs also took some layers. Both of the blues went on pretty good though, so I was happy about that. They're on her chest and upper abdomen, and alternating on her front feet. For her head, I painted her hair red. I considered what would look better and decided that the darker blue was going to look best on her antennae, just completely blue. I think all of these pets are going to have white scleras, so that's what I'll paint in here. I really want some legitimate green in her design, so I'm going to paint her eyes in green. I really like this one that I mixed up because it fits Kidcore perfectly. I gave her black pupils and eyelashes because I wanted a little bit of black on her to make her look graphic and cartoony. When I'm done, I can take off the mask that I put on. I cut it away from the yellow stripe just so that it doesn't accidentally peel off the paint. I gently scrape off any residue and use the scraps to pick up the adhesive. Onto the ostrich. I had no inspiration when I started him, and I still don't have any now. It was even hard for me to think of what aesthetic I would paint on him. I was all like, I guess oceanic, and then came across Y2K as a suggested aesthetic theme, and of course I love that, so I was like, alright, I'll paint him with blues and silvers. Like I said, I based him in Vallejo paint. Oh, but it doesn't look satin. I've varnished him like 2 or 3 times by this point, which is a couple of days afterwards. I want to give him a couple of different blues, so I made a lighter kind of robin or sky blue color, and I'll put that, over his eyes. I'll also paint his neck in this color. I painted his body with a blue straight from one of my bottles, but I wasn't crazy about it, so I mixed up a darker color and used that. I was a little worried that the fade that I did on the back of the wings would look weird, but it came out okay. I left his legs in the base color. I thought that if I painted them in the same color as what his beak will be, that there wouldn't be enough of that base color, so... But that's okay, because I'm going to paint his tail with those colors. I'm basing them in gray because I want them to look kind of metallic. The middle tail feather and the top of his beak are going to be a darker shade. I added metallic or pearlized paint to the grays, but it looks like it's only showing up on the darker gray. I'll fix that later. When I decided on this detail, I really considered just making him Sprocket from Animal Crossing since he was really nice to me in New Horizons, but that would mean that I would have to repaint him again, which I didn't want to do. As far as his eyes go, this mold is really flat, so the possibilities are endless. But I want them to look kind of bored. I sketched them in so that they can be a little bit symmetrical. I'm also going to sketch in the irises so that they look in somewhat the same direction. For this one, I also wanted green. I feel like the cooler tones took a big stage in Y2K aesthetic along with a lot of pinks. So you may as well go with green. His eyelashes will be kind of thin because I want for him to be a little bit less than feminine. To make the gray parts look more metallic, I mixed some of the pearlized paint with some watered down matte Duraclear and painted it on in just those areas. It came out looking pretty good, I think. Just remember that this specific method of making things metallic or shiny brings out the brushstrokes on the piece. I varnished most of the rest of him with watered down Duraclear gloss, but I did go over his eyes with the watered down matte so that they look a little glossier. For the other rabbit, she was initially intended to be based on the same aesthetic that I'm going to give her now, which is one of my top favorite and of the most nostalgic for me. She's going to be Scenemo, which is a combination of scene and emo. So a few different colors and black. The purple paint didn't exactly come off. I thought this initial neon purple looked nice and would have really worked, but I don't have paints that look like that anymore and I don't want to buy new ones. So mixed up purple will be fine. I'm keeping the purple and pink where they are on her head, and I want her hair to be green, so I repainted the green spot on her eyes to be a blue color. I painted the opposite feetsies and paw pads in those colors too. I think that she needs some gradients on her as well, but I want those to be black and white. Her main fur color is going to be black, so I'll block in the white areas that I want now. I'll seal them in a couple times so that I can start masking her, which is mostly done off camera, after I paint her black. That's something that I was a little bit nervous about. Of course I've painted things black before, but I really don't want to accidentally get black on the other ones in places that I don't want it. I was lucky enough being able to wipe off overpaint in some places on the others, but I still don't want to risk it. When I finally got around to it, I painted her with matte black. It was acting a little bit weird, I'll be honest. I painted her in these big blocks completely, and I'll come back later and clean up all of the spots once that's completely dried and not smudge it. In fact, I even seal it a couple times and wait for those to be completely dry as well. When that is the case, I'll take off her mask. I'm happy there wasn't any black paint that got in underneath them. Now I'll clean up the edges on her and I'll seal her another few times. Look, I just want to make sure I can fix any following mistakes that there are.
This is almost perfect. Almost like, you know, when I say perfect, I mean like exactly what I want. You know what I mean?
As far as her eyes go, I wasn't too sure what I wanted. Initially, I thought to make them red, and then I considered giving her heterochromia since all good sparkle critters have different colored eyes. For that, I would make her have 3D glasses eyes because that's always fun. And then I thought about the specific art that makes that style for me. All of those pieces have pure white eyes that don't even have pupils. If I were to do white eyes, I might do the regular LPS eyes with really light shades of gray so that it's kind of just a shadow of the regular eye shape. I want to choose a really good one. It turns out I don't really like the eye shape for the white idea. I drew the eyes, but I matched the mold whose eyes were ovals. So I'll start by painting her left eye in red. I did a mock-up and decided that both eyes should be red. I thought I could pull back the heterochromia by giving the inner iris a different shade, but that doesn't look good either. I mocked up again to see if a difference in pupil color would do it, but it didn't. I was thinking about the eyelashes and figured that I might be able to pull her back into Scenemo with this eyeliner. I really debated it, but I went straight ahead and did the spiky eyelashes all around. I think the pink rabbit came out cute. I'm a little upset about how many similarities she has to Rainbow, but I think she looks really nice as her own thing. I'm happy that the highlights on her eyelashes look okay, because I was worried that they'd look a little strange to me. The bee is adorable. I feel like I could have done a little bit better with the exact colors, but these look okay too. I'm happy that the blues were easy after the time that I had with the other colors. The greens on her body look really neat too. I love her eye color. The ostrich is alright. Considering the lack of inspiration and ideas for him, he turned out pretty good. Obviously the weakest of these, but not the worst custom that I've ever done. Maybe it's because I'm writing this just after finishing her, but I'm not crazy satisfied with the Scenemo Rabbit. Maybe it's because I had too high an expectation, but she doesn't quite fill the role that I want her to. Not like this. She's okay enough, but the eyes just don't pull their weight. Overall, this project did a pretty good job of calming me down, but now it's over, and I don't wanna. Peace out.